What's up, Boxing Land? What up, YouTube? Listen, today I want to talk to you about Ross Greenburg, former head of HBO Sports, who was the head of HBO Sports from 2000 to 2011, who was also the creator of 24/7, which many of you seen for Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, as well as many other documentaries on HBO. You know, the guy, all in all, I think he won over 50 sports Emmys during his career with HBO Sports. And you know, he did some good things for boxing, but I'm not here to talk about his accomplishments. What I am here to talk to you today about with Ross Greenburg is how Ross Greenburg is the individual who I hold responsible for giving birth, or for the beginning of Al Haymon in boxing. You know, if you think about it. It was under the direction of Ross Greenburg and HBO that we saw the likes of Andre Berto fighting Freddie Hernandez for over $1 million. You know, and we saw mismatches. We saw what we saw on Showtime this past year. We saw the beginning of it. You know, the birth of it on HBO, and that happened while Ross Greenburg, was running HBO Sports. And when he left, right around the same time, Kerry Davis was, I believe, fired or resigned from HBO Sports. He was pushed out because Kerry Davis was nothing more but an Al Haymon agent working for HBO. And we can now blame Steven Espinoza for what he's done, the horrible job that he's done at Showtime. And we can blame Al Haymon all we want, and we can blame Oscar for not paying attention for what they did to his company. But, one person who never gets mentioned in any of this was the person who was the head of HBO Sports, which was Ross Greenburg. He allowed all of this to happen, while being at HBO Sports. And, the thing is this, HBO Sports at that time had Floyd Mayweather, and Floyd was putting up some big numbers, so they didn't give a damn. But you know what, guys? The result of what we have today, right, is what was birthed out of HBO under the direction and leadership of Ross Greenburg. So I hold Ross Greenburg also accountable for the bullshit that's going on in boxing, which, as we all know, Haymon is responsible for. Horrible mismatches, the fight not fighting the best. We recently saw Peter Quillen turn down a career high payday of $1.4 million and vacate his title so he wouldn't have to have Jay-Z's Rock Nation promoted, and on and on and on. Adonis Stevenson, Kovalev fight not coming through, and other fights as well. But we've thrown Steven Espinoza under the bus, rightfully so. We've blasted Richard Schaefer, for the theft that he allowed to happen purposely. And I've even blamed Oscar too for not paying attention. But Ross Greenburg has gotten a free pass. And, here's the thing. You have to wonder, how does a guy like that, that powerful, and how does a guy who basically has the final say for purchasing, fights from Haymon, right, on HBO, you wonder, how did he allow, the horrible mismatches, and how did he overpay, right, Haymon fighters on HBO and gave birth to that nonsense, right? You have to wonder, why did he allow that? How did he allow that, right? And one idea that comes to mind is that maybe Haymon was greasing his pockets as well, or maybe he was promising something later on down the road to him. And coincidentally, when Floyd fought Robert Guerrero, the executive producer of All Access was none other than Ross Greenburg. So you have to wonder, did they have some kind of verbal agreement back then? Hey, while Floyd was there, here, let these other things slide and don't worry about it. If anything happens later on, I'll take care of you. Which makes me wonder the same thing about Steven Espinoza. But anyhow, Ross Greenburg, if you watch this video, listen, I'd like to thank you for the nonsense that occurred in boxing. All right, it wasn't until you were gone, all right, and it wasn't until Ken Hirschman came in and Floyd left that HBO, finally cleaned up its act. And, then we saw the continuation of what was going on under Ross Greenberg's leadership at HBO then happen at Showtime. But, we see the mess that boxing is in now. And, we can't we can't pretend to think that, oh, boxing's just fine. Hey, Heyman has this NBC deal. And, here's the other thing, too. Ross Greenburg, right, was doing work for NBC Sports. And it's funny that Heyman, bought time and structured this deal with NBC. And one has to scratch your head. Was Ross Greenburg also involved in the Al Heyman NBC deal? And it's very possible. I don't know for sure, but, there perhaps are dots there to be connected. But, Ross, you basically started this. You gave birth to the guy. I mean, you were buying his bullshit cards over at HBO, and you've gotten like this tremendous pass from everybody in boxing. So, anyhow, folks, do your own homework. Do your own little research on Ross Greenburg, and then tell me what you guys think. If you're on Twitter, follow me at YDKSAB, and I'm out of here. Peace.